afternoon. It is February 3rd, and I want to welcome you to our February virtual luncheon of the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce. It's my honor to welcome you here today on behalf of our staff and our board of directors. My name is Becky Womble, and I'm the president and CEO of the Bastrop Chamber. So welcome. So we are going to kick off this lunch like we do every one of our lunches, and that's to give thanks for the many blessings that we have here in Bastrop County. So today we have George Ellison with Legalshield. Hey George, it's so good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too. I'm great, thank you.
Well, will you give our blessing for today?
We certainly will.
Thank you.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we come today seeking your blessings upon our community and those who are assembled on this Zoom call. Now, God, before we ask you for anything, we want to thank you for everything that you have already done for us. We understand that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes. Grant us, as we pray, for our unity in our homes, our businesses, our schools, our communities, our nation, and the world. We pray for our chamber president and all those that assist her as they work hard with new and existing businesses to attract, accommodate, and promote each other business in our city and county. As our motto is, before you buy, give a member a try. We pray today for all the elected officials, that's the overseers of peace, safety, and economic growth of the city. We pray for our men and women who stands in harm's way to protect us daily, as well as the first responders and healthcare workers who assist our well-being in these uncertain times of the virus, as well as a special blessing on our men and women in the armed force who protect us daily. Please give us the wisdom to make choices that contribute towards the growth of our community, not just financial growth, but choices that benefit our employees, our families, choices that serve the common good. Please bless the food for those that are partaking at this time during our virtual meeting. Bless each and every chamber member, and that our chamber continue to be in the top echelon of all chambers. We ask your blessings on this event, that it continues to grow in spite of the new format that is taking place. And we will give you all the credit and praises in the precious name of Jesus we pray this morning. Amen.
Thank you so much, my Lockhart friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you, thank you.
So every month I always say we cannot do these lunches without the support of a great sponsor. And so I'm a little biased to this sponsor, but today our sponsor is Roscoe State Bank. And so with us on our call today is our Executive Vice President and Branch President for the Bastrop market, Rick Womble. Just to give you a couple interesting facts about Roscoe State Bank. They've been a member since 2014, so they've been a member for 17 consecutive years. They've done the Patriotic Festival since 2011. They've done the We Believe in BISD since its inception in 2013. They've been a banquet sponsor, and they've sent 9 consecutive years somebody to our Best Leadership program. And then what I really want to brag on them about is becoming a pace setter investor in 2020, which allowed us to do some pay it forward memberships to businesses that were struggling. So Rick Womble, would you like to say a few words as our sponsor today?
Sure, thank you, Becky. I appreciate that opportunity. Roscoe State Bank's proud to sponsor this virtual luncheon today. We're grateful for the opportunity to that the Chamber provides us, and we're certainly proud to be a strong supporter of the Chamber of Commerce and believe very deeply in its mission. The Chamber's done a wonderful job through this period of time that we've been through, maintaining a vital connectivity for our local businesses, and it's an important, very important part of what they do, as is evidenced by this luncheon today. So we appreciate that work. In fact, I know that all of our local businesses have worked incredibly hard during this recent time where we've struggled with the COVID-19 virus and all the related elements that's brought into our world. I know I've seen just tons of creativity and passion and tenacity that's just it's remarkable. It's really heartwarming to be a part of such a strong and vibrant and hardworking community. And I'd brag on our staff as well, Becky. I've seen our staff members and our officers here at Roscoe State Bank just really continue to go over and above the call of duty to serve our clients and our staff who need to have access to their funds. They need to have access to funding for their businesses, and we've worked very hard to make sure that we can keep the doors open and continue to do that work, which we love to do so well. So. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to have this sponsorship, and I look forward to the program today.
Thank you, Honey. So we are excited to announce that we have 8 brand new members this month, and hopefully you saw their names at the beginning of our presentation and saw their names listed on our PowerPoint. But if you didn't, if you missed it, please go to our website to the home page and scroll down a little bit, and it'll show those 8 brand new members who've invested in your chamber and are part of your chamber family. So we're excited about that. And just remember, always shop your chamber members first. So on to our BISD Spotlight. This is one of my favorite parts of our lunch every month, whether they're in person or virtual. And so I want to introduce Dr. Christy Lee. She's going to make a couple introductions for me, but welcome, Christy. Good to see you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Like Rick, we appreciate being a part of the chamber and continually are impressed with all the things that you guys are able to do and being innovative in serving the business community and the education community. So thanks for the opportunity again this month. I am proud to introduce a couple of my colleagues. This is National School Counseling Week, so what a great opportunity, but to let you guys hear from some of the members of our counseling team. We have Dr. Marisol Rocha, who is our Director of Federal and State Accountability, Federal and State Programs and School Improvement. And we have Maggie McBride, who is the 8th grade counselor at Cedar Creek Middle School, and they are going to tell you just about some really great things that are happening in counseling and how we are serving and taking care of our kiddos. So, Dr. Rocha?
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. And I am going to share my screen here, guys, as we get started. And again, we want to thank you so much for allowing us to be here with Maggie and myself. Yes, it is National School Counselors Week, and what a great week to honor all of the amazing work that our counselors and social workers have been doing throughout the district. So I would be remiss if I didn't share a little picture opportunity that we have here. So this is our picture that our amazing communications team took last week. It looks very different from our picture last year. You can see, I love the middle. You can see our actual laptop friends that are there with our meeting virtually or whether we're in quarantining. So just kind of to set the context and the stage for what a year it has been, definitely accommodating not only our students, but in a year like this, all of our stakeholders, our teachers, all of our colleagues, our community. Our campuses have really worked to support not only mental health and crisis, but our district-focused social emotional learning curriculum, our trauma efforts, and then I like to say Maggie's favorite that we will not speak about today, but scheduling, and more fun scheduling. As you might imagine, having students go from on-site to online and accommodating those needs has definitely been something that our counselors have said we're making lemonade out of lemons because they are skyward experts now. They are the best at being able to navigate that. So just looking back to last year, we felt like we were really positioned in a good spot because of the groundwork we had laid with our trauma-informed schools, which was one of our 2019-2020 and continuing board and superintendent priorities to make sure that we were really armed with the knowledge that we needed to work with our students on our trauma. Because as we looked into our 2020 reality, where we all found ourselves in March and April of last year, we knew that we really had to take stock of the work that we had already done in that campaign and talk through all of the stages where people would be coming into the 2021 school year, right? Everyone had their own experiences and everyone was really coming in more vulnerable to trauma, and definitely taking into account those pre-traumatic conditions. So our students really having that lack of predictability, that loss of connection, really needing to focus in for the 2021 school year for our students on safety, right? Helping them feel safe in every way that we possibly could. So really taking all of that into account during our summer meetings and our summer trainings, we really landed on three main focus areas. So the first area was community building, right? Establishing those relationships, establishing those connections that we knew we needed to have throughout our school building on a daily basis, whether students were deciding to stay on site or whether they were going online. We wanted to make sure that either way, we could do those connections with them. And then our adult focus for this year, which was new for us to have an adult focus for our campuses, was all about self-care. And as you might imagine, it's something that we say that we all practice and that we know very well, but we definitely can always all be reminded of how we can make sure that we are taking care of our needs as well as adults. And then our student focus, to be in line with our trauma work, was focused on resilience and how we could really make sure that our students were prepared for whatever circumstances might come their way. So that was our focus. And now I'm going to turn it over to Maggie and allow her to share exactly how this transpired and looked on the campus level.
Okay, so definitely when COVID happened, we were charged with our new focus. We were like, well, how do we navigate this moving target? Because we were looking at it, we went from our schools from completely shutting down and then opening up, and then it kind of looks really different this year. So we really had to, as counselors, we at a district level and even as a campus, we had to sit and look at and redefine and how we counsel, how do we connect with our kids, and really focus our attentions on what is best for our kids. So as the shift happened in the spring into what it is today, we as counselors are virtual counselors. We have Google Classrooms just like our teachers. We have we have created a unified response at a district level of how we connect with our kids, but how do we respond to crises. So it's really definitely been a way of how we work through navigating counseling. So in our first of the focus was building community, and a lot of that happened in the spring of how do we serve our kids and how do we serve our community with all stakeholders involved. So oftentimes we would have teacher PLCs where we could do adult groups with our teachers. We led at a campus level a lot of professional development in regards to like social emotional learning, because we were thinking, our teachers are just as much in crisis as our students. So we have to make sure that we're serving our teachers because they are the front line and the first point of contact with our students. So we have to make sure that we are also taking care of our teachers. So we gave presentations, we did virtual adult groups, we talk about presentations that talk about growth mindset, we talk about gratitude, and we think through and get creative of how we're serving our school and our community. And then our other big initiative this year is self-care. And I think that's one of the things that our students and our teachers are feeling is, if keep pouring out and you're not pouring in, and then at a certain point you can't pour out anymore. And so what we're doing is one of the big initiatives that at Cedar Creek Middle School is we are wanting to do a self-care week, and not only just for our teachers, but we're going to do it for our students, you know, and because we know that they are in high stakes testing and season. We're in the midst of it. And so we're going to roll out, how can you take care of yourself when stress levels are already at an all-time high, and then we add it even higher. So that's one of the big initiatives that we're rolling out at Cedar Creek Middle School. It's gonna happen sometime in this spring. And then our last component or focus is resilience. And I think this at the middle school level, this is a lot of what we talk about is building grit, and teaching our students as well as our students that to overcome those challenges, and learning to overcome them makes them, you know, more successful in the long run. And so this is a fantastic book that I have shared out with many people. It's by a man by the name of Paul Tough, but it talks about children do succeed, and it's because of grit and learning to be resilient in all of this. And so in one of those presentations, we talked about embracing that growth mindset and using that. But, you know, as counselors, we wear many hats, and we learn to be flexible, but to navigate it. But, you know, really our goal is to make sure that we're serving our community at its best. So thank y'all so much.
Today, and congratulations on Counseling Week, National Counseling Week. Guys, I'm so glad that you're back in school. My sister is trying to homeschool and work, and her daughter's basically been out of school since last March. And so she is about to pull her hair out. So I really appreciate everything you guys do on a daily basis. We're excited about our We Believe visit today, even though it's virtual, we're excited. And I need to get with Christy. We got 3 big umbrellas back here to deliver to Cedar Creek Intermediate School. So we need to clear out the back so we can put stuff in for our golf tournament. So, but again, thank you for everything you do, BISD. We appreciate you very much and being such a great community partner. So
thank you so much.
All right, guys, so we're on to our program. We are so excited to have the City of Bastrop with us. This has kind of been a discussion we've been having for probably over a year now about getting the City of Bastrop to present about our Planning and Zoning Department. And so we want to allow time for question and answer, and we want you guys to get your questions answered. So I'm going to encourage you that if you have a question, to please enter it into the chat box. And Trey said he's going to keep his presentation short so that we can be sure and ask all those questions. But I want to welcome Trey Job. He is the Assistant Manager for Development Services. And then our newly hired building inspector, Shirley Ellis. So welcome to our February Bastrop Chamber virtual luncheon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Just real quick, I want to start by saying I've been here about 9 years. Again, like Becky said, I'm the Trey Job, the Assistant City Manager of Development Services. And a little bit of an announcement here. Shirley has actually agreed to be our official building official as of the 8th of this month. So she's going to be coming on full time. She has over 40 years of experience in this field. She actually teaches the code. I really think you're going to like her down to earth approach. And again, I'm talking too much, so I'll try to keep my presentation short and let me share my screen. Much better at this a minute ago. Here we go.
All right, Trey, we practiced this beforehand. What happened now? Do you want us to run it from our end?
Nope, got it.
Oh, you got it.
I went down to the wire and I blew it. Sorry. All right. So let me start over. So over the last 18 months, like Becky talked about, 2 years, we wrote this building Bastrop block codes. But more importantly, we've really been dealing with them for about 12 to 14 months, right? This is in November of 2019 when we got started. And basically what we decided was we wanted our city to be comfortable, to be authentic, to be thriving, to be human scale. And what I mean by that is just a quick, and if you've seen these slides before, I'm not surprised because I talk about this a lot. But bear with me, I've added a few extra ones in here that I think will keep it interesting. But just basically, we went back and studied our DNA, and we talk about Old Town USA Anywhere, kind of started on that block grid pattern, right? You see it's separated by a railroad, separated by a river, but the main thing was that basic block structure. And that's something that this code protects. It's important because as you grow, you can continue to grow incrementally, you can grow contiguously, and we found, but as we were taking this journey, is that it's the most fiscally sustainable pattern in development that we've found. So again, this is just a great example. As you grow and expand, it looks like this. Some of what we've reviewed is what's great about incremental growth is as your revenue increases and your population stays level, your service costs are going to go up, but they're going to be maintained and stay under that revenue. You may recognize this. This is from one of our kiosks downtown, and you can see our downtown Bastrop is in a grid. So again, we started there, and that's where we're at. Here's some more pictures of the recently completed Main Street. You see that connectivity and how nice that looks. So again, anywhere else in the USA? That's the reason this was this type of thing from happening, because what you find is while there's an increased revenue and increased population very quickly over time, that doesn't remain. So again, part of this code rewrite required block requirements in our 1 mile ETJ. Again, this is what happens the opposite. We want those revenues to stay up above service cost. So that's why we chose this block and grid system. Here's a great example of a wonderful development that nobody can get to without any connectivity. Every time you're here, for example, you have to jump in your car to get anywhere. So we were really looking for connectivity, something that focused on people. We know cars are going to be around for a long time, but we do want to make sure it's people focused and not just automobile. Again, I'm doing a lot of the same slides, and I know I told Becky I'd go really quickly, but what we realized as part of this code rewrite was comparing the value captured by those development patterns. So when you look at something that people consider old and blighted, right on the left-hand side of your screen, it's just exactly the same kind of stuff you have downtown. And then you have something that's large and brand new and shiny. And what we've found is that old and blighted produced a better value per capita on that acreage of land. So again, we were looking at that fiscal sustainability, and it turns out less audio oriented, more oriented to the people, right? And that's what we want, to build a community, not just streets, not just roads. We want to build neighborhoods. This is a great screen as part of the fiscal analysis that we did. I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but that one thin, really dark green space is actually the corner of Chestnut and Main Street. That turned out to be the most financially sustainable area in town. So we wanted to repeat that. And again, we wanted to repeat that because it was important for finance. It's important for stabilizing future tax rates. It's important for connectivity. So what we did was our transportation network. You can see these little dotted lines here, how much easier it is to get somewhere if it's in a gridded pattern. And what was really important about that was our increased walkability. It decreases things like emergency response time, traffic congestion, and it lowers overall maintenance costs for the roads and for the utilities. Again, this is just another depiction of what you commonly see in development today, which is large, big box, and then what we have changed the code to meet. That's exactly the same amount of space, but you can see how much more comfortable and neighborhood human scale it is on the left-hand side there. So what are we seeing today? This is a great example of the Dollar General store. If anybody's been in Bastrop for any length of time, you know that this is on Old Ellison Highway. This is the standard Dollar General. But what we've done, the rewrites in the code, is actually change the way that you interact with public space and your glazing requirements, building requirements, things of that nature. And right now, the Dollar General is actually have an approved set of plans for the corner of Tahitian and Highway 71. And if you look at this building, it's a much more attractive, got lights of glazing, it feels more comfortable, it fits the area better, it sits up next to the roadway. You can see on this slide here where the Dollar General was pushed up against Highway 71, they've actually increased the amount of trees on that site. They planted back, I think, approximately 17 new lolly pines when there were 3 that were nearly dead and beetle infested. They were really big trees, but it was time for them to go. Part of the code is an arborist will look at something like that, make sure they're in poor shape, and then we require them to put that same caliber of tree back. So it's turned out good so far. This is just a great example. You notice that all their parking was in the rear on Industrial Street, Industrial Road, because we don't tell you how many parking spaces you have to have, but we do say your parking needs to be in the 3rd layer. And this is an example of the first layer of your lot, which is from the build line to the building. Then there's a 20-foot second layer, and then the 3rd layer is where your parking will be. What are we working on now? Because I thought it'd be nice to talk about a couple of capital projects, just to let you know how far along they are. We've been talking about it for quite a while. We're in the first phase of our wastewater treatment plant. The actual start date is tentative for March 1st. We're all excited about that. Then 18 months of construction. Here we have a Gills Branch drainage improvement project. And if you're familiar with, if you were living here in 2015 or 2016, when we saw some significant flooding, you can see the area downtown that was actually flooded from that storm. They're going to finish those plans and give us an update at the end of this month. And what they've done so far is, once these are completed, we'll go from what you see on the screen now to this. And it technically takes 199 structures out of the floodplain. It's going to be an epic change for downtown. It's going to be an epic change for the way things drain downtown. We're super excited about it. And we can't wait to get it started. But we'll have the plans completed 100% probably by the end of this month. The sidewalk connectivity project, which I think is pretty cool. You can see the dotted lines that just depict sidewalk. They're not quite finished yet, but it will connect Jewel Hodges Park, if you know where that is, on Linton, all the way to Bob Bryant on Ellison Highway. And they're approximately, I'd say from the railroad tracks to Linden now. So what you see on the screen has all been done along Main up to the railroad tracks. And then they will continue anything along Main tying into our new sidewalks, continue on to Farm Street into Fisherman's, and some of that's already been poured. And then next, we will use what's existing on Main Street that was recently finished, and then go across the bridge and make our way all the way back up to Bob Bryant Park. So it's a great connectivity for that extra multimodal transportation. So we'd like everybody to ride their bikes, be able to walk, take the car, just be really more connected. A lot of this stuff's been in the works for a year or so. So if you get a chance, go check it out. If you're on Main Street, just walk a little farther north, right? We're almost there. Also, what we've been working on, we've been dealing with these codes for about a year. And we've been listening to people when they come in. They say, hey, I don't like this part, or this doesn't work for me. So over the last year, we've kept a list of notes on what needs to be fixed. And at the last P&Z meeting on the 28th of January, we actually talked about the amendments that we're going to make. One was to make an administrative chapter, which currently is a technical manual. That's a separate manual. But we thought it'd be really helpful to just have something right at the front of the code that tells you a how-to guide of how to use it. We're going to add some additional clarity on appeal authority. And what that means is there'll be a new chart for you to follow that's really easy. The development process, we're increasing the amount of administrative approvals over the process. Doesn't take so long. Because the way they were originally written in the B3 was some of this had to be done and taken to P&Z or council. But we do understand the intent of what the policymakers wanted. And I think we can improve that and make the process a little quicker a little smoother. The general subdivision standards, we want to make sure that we're promoting organized development in the ETJ. They have a rather large, I think it's 154 square mile ETJ. So we're working on new lot standards for that and making sure that the drainage regulations are being applied, because we don't want to happen out in the ETJ what happened downtown in 2015 and 2016. Something Shirley can probably say is the code changes. We're going to try to apply a certificate of occupancy CO verification, and that's a little bit different. So when you're a business and you change tenants, but you do not change your use, for example. So if you're a bookstore and then you sold out to somebody else and they kept it a bookstore, we'd really like a smoother CO process that just allows you to come in, we walk in, it's either low cost or no cost, and we just say, yep, it's exactly what it's supposed to be, keep the CO going, and we move on. That's something Shirley's working on now, and I think that'll smooth a few things out, because the fee for somebody changing from a bookstore to a bookstore should be much different than somebody going from a bookstore to a restaurant, for example, that requires a lot of different safety precautions, right, and additional inspections. So that should be much different. And then we actually got quite a bit of input about signage on the 28th, but I think we were already on the same page on what's been done. We're really kind of following the ZBA actions that have been taken over the last few meetings and updating those sign ordinances to reflect what I think the community really wants. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Question. I do have a couple questions here. When do you think the adjustments will be made to the ordinance from the meeting on January 28th? Do you guys have a timeline?
We write them in high priority. I think the quickest turnaround you'll see is 3 to 4 months. And we prioritize signs and a couple other things that were really high priority. I wish I'd have brought that list. I didn't bring it with me. But we talked a little bit about it in the meeting. And I'm happy to send that PowerPoint out with those prioritized. If you want to send it out to the membership.
That'd be great. That would be great, for sure.
And then 12 months for some other stuff that's not as important, but we are rewriting it in-house.
Okay. Another question I have is, what kind of feedback are you getting from developers about the B3 code? So far, I think it shocks everybody because it's super flexible. That's what we love about it, right? But what we don't love about it is it's super flexible. So when people come in and you say, hey, you only have one big rule, you've got to build this 330-foot gridded street, or we want the roads to look like this. But whatever you want to do on your property is up to you. It blows their mind because they're used to cities coming in and telling you exactly what you have to build, how many parking spaces you have to have, where your flowers need to be, right? All of that good stuff, traditional development. And they've gotten used to that. And so when they come here, it throws them off their game. But so far, we've had a couple of small developments that are actually near the end. And I think you'll see some stuff where they could really take an original lot that was 37, original project that was 37 lots. And they were almost able to increase their density to 60, right? And so that makes sense to add those extra block structures because they can get their money back and they have the connectivity. So I think so far everybody likes it, but they're having a hard time articulate what they don't like about it because again, it's just different. So Shirley, why don't you share a little bit about with our audience about the new certificate of occupancy and how that's going to go? You want to elaborate on some of the discussions we've had?
Yes. So I know when I first came and started doing some consulting work and before I started full time, that was one of the priorities that the city manager and that Trey had brought up was the issue with certificate of occupancies downtown. And a lot of the downtown businesses, when they would change from even, as Trey said, bookstore to bookstore, or even bookstore to another type of retail business, maybe clothing or or gift shop type thing, they were requiring them to get a full new certificate of occupancy. And I believe that if it's still business to business, not business to an assembly, a group, or some other use or category, then we should be able to just go in and say, yes, your fire extinguishers are still good. You've not blocked any exits. And so that's all still clear. You've not added any dividers, permanent dividers, temporary ones are okay. So that it changes the flow for emergency egress. And we should be able to do that very quickly. And then all we're doing is verifying that the certificate of occupancy for a business is still valid, that there's no changes. And I think that would speed up some of the process and also reduce the cost for some of these small startups that are just changing the name on who pays the bills and the name on the building. So we're hoping to get that rolled out really quickly.
Okay, awesome. Well, like I've shared, with several meetings that I've had with Paul, is that, a lot of businesses just have a passion to make widgets, or, whatever it is. And so these businesses are sinking their life savings, into starting a business. So what kind of things are you guys doing to try and help with the process of, getting, a business open and stuff? I mean, obviously they've got to follow, the code and stuff like that, but what kind of things are you doing to be proactive and maybe trying to smooth out that process? I don't know who should try and answer that, because that was kind of a loaded question, but anyways, I mean, what are we doing to be proactive in that area?
So I talked a little bit about that earlier. We have been jotting down what everybody doesn't love, right? We know it's a living, breathing document. But that second bullet point I talked about, which was our DRC and our development process, that's really about making things simpler to approve and not going to so many different people. There should be a small amount of review, especially on something that's existing. And then it's going to be at the director's discretion. I'm currently serving as the director as well, which it's, as you know, the most efficient, I guess, number is one, right? If you're making some final decisions, but it gives us good accountability as well. So we're making sure they're making right decisions, but we had a panel that would go back and review, and I think that was slowing things down a bit, right? Everybody's busy. We had 2 weeks to do this and get it done in. They were utilizing that whole 2 weeks. What we're looking to do is speed that process up by giving a little more administrative authority to the building official if need be, to the director, whoever that decision-making party is. I'd really like them to own that so we can move things at a much quicker pace so that it doesn't go through this development review committee, but the person that's responsible. So I hope that answered your question.
Cool. Okay, I have another question that was text to us that says, how can we encourage and recruit business owners to fill up the shops in downtown or on Main Street, making it fuller and more enjoyable for visitors and shoppers? I don't know if necessarily that's something that, with planning and zoning, that may be a question for EDC or Main Street, but any ideas about that?
Yeah, I think as a whole, sorry if I'm hogging too much there, Shirley, just feel free to jump in, but I think as a whole with our management, we've actually taken a approach to what's good for downtown and what's good for Main Street is good for all of Bastrop, right? So we really, each department has been focusing on that, on the exact problem that you're talking about, how we make it better, how we make people stay longer. So where before, it may have just been a concern of the EDC or the chamber, although I won't say that's necessarily true. What's happened is everybody is working together with these new teams and cross-sectional teams to make sure that we are a good partner and making sure we're focusing on that. And I got to tell you that the new organizational plan that Mr. Hoffman laid out about 6 months ago is geared to do just what you're talking about, to make sure that we get those spots full, people stay here and they enjoy it for a long time.
Okay. All right, there's another question. It says, and this goes back to our conversation, Shirley, that we had when you came by, but It says, I heard that the process for a certificate occupancy permit application was on hold. Is it still on hold?
Well, we've got the basis of what we're going to do now with this verification program. So those that don't fall into the verification are still going to business as usual. These that are changing, we can do the inspections. We just haven't set the fee yet. And we need to sit down and decide if it's going to be zero cost or exactly how much time this is going to be for us to do these inspections. And because as a city, operates on cost recovery. So we want to make sure that all the citizens aren't paying for this one cost. And that's going to take a few inspections before we can figure out how much time that takes and actually get a value to it. So I think that's where we are now. It should be very quickly. Trey might want to add something on that, but I know he and I are working very hard to get this rolled out to the citizens.
So yeah, I just want to be clear that nothing's on hold.
Yeah.
What we're doing is working through the process while we're making the changes. So we're still open for business, all right? You can come in here, get your CO verification. Shirley just run down there for 10 minutes and take a look at it. We're not going to charge you for that right now. But what we're going to do is while we're doing this and making these other updates is where she's actually been here just a short period of time. And she's already went through all of the ordinances and marked where there's discrepancies, where they don't match. So we're going to have to get all of that pulled together and brought back. But in the meantime, we're open for business. Same thing with the signs and the other high priorities. We're saying 3 to 4 months to complete them all. But as we get the work done, we're going to bring it forward. So worst case scenario, 4 months, best case scenario, 4 weeks, right? So we're going to continue to keep doing that as we go and incrementally get this done because, again, it's busy around here. You see how many people are knocking on the doors all the time. We've got to be ready, and we've got to be right, and we've got to be expandable, contractible, flexible, ready to go. And that's really the approach that we're taking. So I'm excited. We're getting a great team together.
Well, Trey, you said 4 months or 4 weeks, and all they're going to hear is 4 weeks. So I have another question. It says, how can a business that has never had a certificate of occupancy acquire one?
We talked a little bit about that. Go ahead, Shirley.
The main process is for them to make an application. And so they can tell us, what it is. We will then have to do, it will involve the fire marshal doing an inspection as well as myself if they've never had one. And then we can make a list of things that have to be done to meet those safety codes. We're not going to look at anything else in the building except what they change and then the safety requirements. And once we do that, then we'll be able to issue them a CO. And we would love everyone who does not have a CO to please come in and get one. That helps everybody in the community if we know all the businesses are operating and they're safe and the citizens can get in and out in an emergency, and it protects everybody. So we want to encourage, if you do not have a CO or if you have one, please just contact us and we can let you know and we can schedule the inspections.
That's right. On that, that's part of the verification process that we haven't quite worked out yet. And it's really, you've been here and you've been open for years and years and years. We're not going to come in and say you can't have a CO. That's not going to happen. I don't want to say an amnesty program, but basically, if you've been here operating for a long time, I don't see any reason to change that. Now, after you've gotten your CO a year later and you want to do a complete remodel, okay, let's talk. Right? Maybe you got a couple safety improvements to do, but this is not us trying to regulate you. More than anything, it's us trying to make sure that everybody's safe, that we're all on the same team, and we just want to help.
All right, I have one last question here. It says, how will compliance to the codes be enforced? It seems like there isn't enough manpower to investigate. Anyways, then just a few other comments. So how are the codes being enforced?
I have a plan for that. So we have our one little singular code enforcement officer right now. But also involves the police department, but also Shirley is going to do some of that. But also we have a vacant inspector position that I think we should review and make sure it makes sense to continue to be inspector, since we can sub out inspections. And that's currently what we're doing to a third party, because again, it's so busy. It's easier for us to have 30 inspectors that are third party so we can keep up. And I think maybe it's time for us to review and see if the code enforcement officer or a reclassification of a position isn't warranted. Of course, I got to run that by the boss, who's probably saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that at the chamber launch. We haven't talked about it much, but all that needs to happen, and it's all important. And that's the plan. So.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the hot seat, bringing us this presentation today. And for those of you who have not got to know Shirley yet, she is absolutely a delight. She came by to visit me first couple days that she was just kind of contracting with the city, and I think we spent an hour and 15 minutes visiting. So if you haven't had a chance to get to know her, I'm sure a lot of you know her because she's been around Bastrop for a long time. But anyways, she's a great individual, and I think a great addition to the city of Bastrop staff. And of course, then there's Trey, you know, and he's pretty cool too. So anyways, thank you guys.
Becky.
We appreciate you being part of this lunch today. And before I let you go, I need a number. We have 68 people that register for this lunch. So Trey, pick a number between 1 and 6. And Shirley, why don't you pick one between 0 and 9?
I'm going to pick number 5.
5, okay.
I'm going to take 7.
7. All right, so we're going to check and see if number 57 is still on the call. And if they are, then they're going to win $50 today. So we will check that and make a couple of announcements. And thanks again, guys, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right, so just a few announcements. We have in just a little over a month our Teeing Off 2021 golf tournament and our Bastrop Boil and Bash. So we have one team left on our golf tournament. We're so excited about y'all's support of this event. And then we do have tickets left for the Boil and Bash. So this is an event to replace the income for our annual chamber banquet that had to be canceled due to COVID restrictions. So get online and get your tickets, and we still have a few sponsorships still available. But part of the fundraising that we're doing for this event, Lads Coin Exchange and Craig's Jewelry always donates an exquisite piece of jewelry that we usually auction off on our live auction. But since we're not having a formal program, we are having a raffle this year. So I'm really enjoying wearing this piece of jewelry. And I'm gonna be really sad when somebody wins it on March 5th at 7 p.m. But let's see if I can put that up there so y'all can see. I always do this the wrong way. But see that piece of jewelry? See how it sparkles? It is beautiful, guys. But the tickets are $10 each. You can get 6 for $50, and we're selling only 1,000 tickets. So your chances are really good of winning that piece and taking it home. And guys, Valentine's Day is just around the corner, so you might buy a raffle ticket. On top of that, we are taking silent auction items for our Boil and Bash. So contact the chamber and let us know what you would like to donate. And then we're also having a ball drop. So you can purchase a golf ball for $10, and at our golf tournament, we're gonna dump out a big bucket of balls, and whoever's ball lands in the middle of the cup wins a 50-50 split with the chamber from all the proceeds that are raised from our ball drop. So you don't have to be at the event to win. So, and same thing with the raffle tickets, you don't have to be present to win. So those are ways you can support the chamber even if you can't be at our event. And then guys, I want to make another plea. Mask up. Do you hear me? Mask up. Luckily we have vaccines that are being distributed here in Bastrop County. In fact, you can sign up to get on the waiting list for a vaccine. But the vaccine, you know, is not going to cure this virus, and we need to continue to take care of each other and mask up. It's an act of kindness you do for others, not something you do for yourself. So Let's get vaccinated and keep our community healthy so we can stay open for business. And then also we're looking for volunteers to help work the community phone bank. So you can go to Bastrop County Connects and find that registration, but we need people to help work the phones so that we can get the vaccine distributed. So let's see, lastly, I think that's all my announcements that I can think of and that I'm seeing. Other than our next luncheon is going to be on March 3rd. We're excited to hear about and get an update from Visit Bastrop. They really pivoted during 2020 to make sure that they could still promote our community and tourism in the area. So anyways, please sign up for that. We do have our Member of the Week Spotlight. I hope you guys have been enjoying that on Facebook. We've been spotlighting some great members. And so this is just a way that we can promote some of our businesses. So I'm gonna do, you want me to do 4 today for the next 4 weeks? Okay, we're gonna draw 4. And so those 4 are gonna come from our big tub here. So you guys know everybody's names are in here. We're gonna pull 4 today. If I can get just 4 out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see who our winners are. All right, we have got, oh wow, a brand new member. Texas Disposal Systems. There's one of the ones I pulled today. Oh great, the Reserve at Greenleaf. That's another really cool venue. Blake's Music Shop. Oh my gosh, congratulations, Gary. And then DV Laser Works. Rick, you are going to be spotlighted on one of our member spotlights in the coming weeks. So congratulations, guys. Those are some good ones today. Awesome. So the last thing is to our number 57 is Brittany Ross. Didn't she win already? Didn't Brittany win already? Well, anyways, all right. I think Brittany won already, but that's what you get for registering for the luncheon regularly. Brittany Ross with Darling Promo, you're winning $50 for registering for our lunch today. So thank you guys for joining us. Happy Valentine's Day. We appreciate you and thank you for your membership. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.